Okay, so to start with, on this one, graph the top, or left, graph the right, see where they cross. I want to pause for a second while you do that. All right, so got it in my calculator. I hit graph. I graph the one side, graph the other side, see where they cross. Now you can see my window's not great because I can't see where both places are that they touch. And my calculator only knows what it is on the screen. So it could only tell me one intersection point right now. So I have to zoom, or I could go to my window. I want you to get good at this too. I want to go farther to the right. Is that an X or a Y thing? It's an X thing. So I could change my X max from instead of 10 to maybe 20. And then I could hit graph. And that works better than a zoom because otherwise I might have gotten way too far out or whatever. If I want to go a little higher on the graph, I want to go higher, it's a Y thing. So I go to my Y max and maybe change that to 20 also. And then I can get it all zoomed into exactly what I want. Okay, so now I do second, calculate the intersections, which is the 5. And then I go first curve, yes, I'm on it. Yes, you're on it. And then the last one is guess. I'm going to arrow over. As long as I'm closer to this one than that one, I'm good. There, jumps there, -2. You got to do that? Raise your hand if you're comfy with that. Okay, good. Now I'm about to change your world. What happens if it's greater than? Okay. So now, it's really not that hard. Do you get that there's a lot of different answers that probably work? Just like if I said, like, A is greater than 10, there's a lot of things that work. Okay? Now, there's not just one answer or two answers that works. There's a lot of answers that work. And do you get that it's probably related to the two places that it crosses? The two places that it crosses were at -2. When you solved it all down, you got x equals -2, and what was the other one? X equals what? 18? All right. So then, do you get that the 2 and the 18 are probably involved with this answer? All right. Then I'm going to draw you a number line. And here's where -2 is, and here's where 18 is. Do you get that this, having two spots on there, divides up my number line into 3 general areas? The ones that are less than -2, that are ones that are between -2 and 18, and the numbers that are bigger than 18. The blue, the red, and the green. You get that there's 3 different areas? And probably only one of them, or maybe 2, will work. Not everything works, but 1 or 2 of those zones are going to work. How can I tell which ones are going to work? You can pick a number that's in that zone. Do you get that between -2 and 18 that there's a number in there that'd be a nice and easy one to work with? 0 is a nice number. I'll try 0. I just want to know if it works or not. So I'm going to go put in 0 in this equation. I'll put a 0 right here. Then I'd have 0 minus 8, which would be -8. Absolute value of that is 8. Is 8 greater than 10? No. So clearly this does not work. I checked that interval and found out it didn't work. So now I'm going to try another spot. I can pick anything bigger than 18 and see if that works, like maybe 20. Okay, so I'm going to try 20 and see if it works. And if it works, then I'll know everything in there works. So I'm going to try 20. 20 minus 8, what's that? 12, girls, stay with me. I know the social sharing the Gardettos thing is always fun, but I need you doing this with me. All right, 20 minus 8 is 12. Absolute value of 12 is 12. Is 12 greater than 10? Yes, it is. So it works. So everything in here works. That's one of my areas that works. Now I'm going to try something else. This other area down here, what should I test for that? -3. If I stick in a -3 or a -4 or a -10, whatever, -3 minus 8 makes -11. Absolute value of that is 11. Is 11 greater than 10? Yes, so that also works. This area works and this area works. So my answers are, and here's how you'd write this. Again, this is Precalc. This is like usually lots of layers. I'm talking the onion kind of layers, not the parfait kind of layers. Anyway, that was a little Shrek reference. So from -infinity to -2, parentheses, and let me see what kind of a sign I used. I had a greater than or equal to. So then that means bracket. And then nothing works until I get to 18 to infinity. Oopsie. Spell infinity, but infinity. And 18 works. Infinity you can never get to. There's my final answer. All right. That's it. That's all you have to learn for today. But we're going to have to do a couple problems before I think you really get it. All right? Let's do one more that's just simplish. X minus, no, X X over 2 minus 1 is less than 5. All right, you have to know how to do this two ways. Remember, you've got one test with a calculator and one test without a calculator. Not on the same day. So the first test is without the calculator. That's Tuesdays. And then Wednesdays, you get a calculator. So how am I going to do this? Well, graph this side, graph that side, see where they cross. That's the easiest way. That's graphing. But what if you don't have to graph a calculator? What if you have to do it by hand? Then you have to know how to break up an absolute value into two. Act like that's an equal sign. And just say x over 2 minus 1 is equal to 5. Or x over 2 minus 1 is equal to negative 5. Now, I even sometimes will keep the sign in there and say, it wasn't really an equals, it was a less than. And it wasn't really an equals over here. And since I changed that to the opposite sign, doesn't that seem like a logical time to maybe change the sign around? So this sign will go to that. That really doesn't even matter. That's why those other teachers that only do it with an equal sign are right. Because it really doesn't matter what sign this is. It doesn't matter. Because why? Because all I want to do is find my 2 points. I'm going to find a point for this, some answer for this, and I'm going to some answer for that. And then I'm going to put them on a number line. And then I'll have to test those regions. Okay, so one thing at a time. I'm going to add 1 to both sides. X over 2 equals 6. And then how do I get rid of the over 2? Times by 2, so x equals 12. And over here, I'm going to add 1 to both sides, and I have x over 2 is equal to negative 4. And then I'm going to times both sides by 2. X equals negative 8. Get my answers there, negative 8 and 12. That's exactly like yesterday. There's nothing new there until now. Now you got to say, okay, since it's an inequality, I have to now make one of these guys. From negative 8 to 12. And now where does it work? I don't know. But I can test some spots and find out. What's the easiest number of all to test? 0. So I'm going to test 0 and see if it works. And by the way, if it works, then it probably will only work in here, and the ends probably won't. It usually works in the middle or on the outsides. One or the other. But you can't count on that every time. So you really should test one in each region. So if I test 0, I'm going to stick in a 0 into my original problem, and it should go fairly easy. What's 0 divided by 2? 0. 0 minus 1 makes negative 1. Absolute value of negative 1 is 1 less than 5. Yes, it worked. So this area worked, so I'm going to make it darkened in. The endpoints themselves, the negative 8 and the 12, you can tell if they're going to work by whether or not this sign has an or equal to or not. And since it does not have an or equal to, they will not work. So this is empty and empty. They don't work on the ends. Now, if you didn't catch what I just said, then all you have to do is test the 12. Test the 12. It won't work, I'll tell you that, but test the 12 and see. Just stick in a 12. 12 divided by 2 is 6. 6 minus 1 is 5. Do you see why it's not going to work? Because it'll be the absolute value of 5, and unless there was an or equal to there, 5 is not less than 5. Okay, so only if it's equal to there will it actually work. Okay, so now I should really, just to be safe, I should test one of these outside here, like 13. So I go back here and say like 13, but now I'm dividing by 2. I really don't want to take 13 divided by 2, so why not I pick 14? See what I mean? I can pick anything I want, so pick something that works nice. So if I'm picking 14 to put here, if I take 14 divided by 2 is 7, 7 minus 1 is 6, less than 5. No, didn't work. See, it only works in there. So then my final answer is it doesn't work here and it doesn't work here, and I want to say from -8 to 12, and do I use brackets or parentheses? Parentheses, because the endpoints don't work, and I knew that because the sign didn't have an or equal to on it. Raise your hand if you're following this. You get what I'm saying. Okay, good. Now, I know some of you maybe don't feel like you are, and that's okay. I've only done 2 examples, so I'll be glad to help you some more with this. But there's one more thing that might help. The calculator can be used on the calculator part of the test, and there's a way for the calculator to do this and tell you where to shade. That's the hardest part, is the testing, see where to shade. Your calculator can tell you where to shade. Let me show you how. Get this one back up again, the same one we had before. The x minus 8 in the absolute values, and then a 10. So that problem looks like this. Let's say it was a less than or equal to. All right, let me show you how to do that on a calculator. And this is new. I bet you that nobody's ever done this before. We'll see. The less than or equal to has to be done this way. Would you agree that the y1 is less than the y2? But I haven't told the calculator that yet, have I? So I need to tell the calculator somehow that y1 is less than y2. You can do it right on that line right there, on the y3 line. You can say, tell the calculator that y1 is less than y2. So how do you do that? Use vars, y vars, function, and there's y1. Get a y1 in there. Again, it was under vars, y vars, function. Okay. And now I need to tell it it's less than. Those symbols are on the giant catalog list, but it's a long way to go. I'll show you the fast way. See the thing right above math? See where it says test there? If you want to test something and say that I want this to be less than that or whatever, that's a test. So above math, the test option, see them all there? Okay, so I want to do which one? Less than or equal to is which number? Number 6. So hit 6. I got y1 is less than or equal to, and then I want y2. So we'll go back to the vars, y vars, functions, y2 is the second one. Enter. And now watch what happens when you graph it. You still have the other 2 lines, but look at the thing that comes up on the bottom there. That's telling you where to shade. Get what I'm saying? That last thing that came in here, this part right here, was telling you that on this number line you'd shade from here to here. And that this doesn't work here and it doesn't work out there. Now if you wanted to redraw the lines, I couldn't figure this out last hour, but if you ever wanted to redraw the lines, just change your window just a little bit. Okay, if you wanted to redraw all the lines for you. So I'm going to do that so you can see the lines come in. And I'm going to make it go a little farther over on the x's, so I'm going to make my x max like 25 or something. And then I hit graph again, and it'll redraw my graph. So there's my V. There's my line, that's the 10 line. And then there's where to shade. Saying, shade between here and here. What if it only worked on the outside? Then that would have been the same idea except with a different sign. So I go back here, and I would change this sign to a greater than or equal to. So arrow down, and I'm going to go in and see. Everybody change this to a greater than or equal to sign. Right there. It's under test, which is right above math. Greater than or equal to is the 4th one. And now I hit graph. Now it graphs that, and where do I shade, calculator? And it's telling me shade on the outsides. Get that? Okay. All right. Your homework is to do problems just like that. I'll start the first one with you. I am, given that I do a lot of problems with you in class, sometimes I will make the assignment itself a little shorter so that you don't have as much to do at home. And the other thing is, I really do expect you to have your homework done. But that goes two ways. I can't give you assignments that are not reasonable and then expect you to keep doing them over and over again. So I have to keep them manageable size. This is an assignment to me where it seems like you don't have to have as much practice, so I'm going to cut it down. You may skip the even ones and just do the odd ones. Except for on the very last problem, which is kind of like one problem that was broken into two. So you can skip every even one except the very last problem. So we're just doing odds. Thank you. All right. So let's do number one together. It says, oh, and look, it says in the directions, a sketch of the graph. That implies you can graph to do these. Okay? So number one, let's just pop that right in the graphing calculator, and it says x plus 4 is greater than or equal to 5. Like this. X plus 4 greater than or equal to 5. Okay. So then I'm going to put that in, and you don't have to get rid of your absolute value completely. Just change this to x plus 4 greater than or, okay, and this is 5. And then keep your y1 and your y2 thing in there. You know, you don't have to go find them every time that way. And I can just change it. This one is a greater than or equal to, and hey, that's what I happen to have in there. Yay. Greater than or equal to. So then I hit graph, and it shows me there's my picture, and it tells me where to shade. And it looks like you shade in the middle or on the outsides? On the outsides. So where are those two spots, though? Where are those two crucial spots? You can still do your second calculate deal to find the intersect points, because those are the key spots on the number line. Second calculate the intersects, and I'm on the first line, and in the second line I'll always do those two right. And then guess, I got to arrow over and get kind of close to where I want it, and that's good enough, as long as I'm closer to that one than the other one. And I get 1. If my life depended on it, I'd check that. So I'm going to just check quick. If I put in a 1, does that seem like an important point? Because it comes out to 5. Actually makes sense. Is 5 greater than or equal to 5? Yes, and it works there. So one of my key points is 1. So here's what you need to show your work. I know some of you think, well, I did it on my calculator. I can't show my work. Yes, you can. You can show me a quick sketch of that. It's a V that's shifted a little to the left, and it's got a line running through it. This is all I need you to show me. I don't need it to be super high tech. Let me see if that's generally right. Yep. And then this point right here is at 1. And this point right there, what that one comes up to be? Did anybody just second calculate the intersect to find the other one? -9, thank you. So then you need a little sketch of this, and then your number line, which goes from -9 to 1 are the key points on it. And remember, do the end points here actually work or not? If it's or equal to, like the sign right there, then they work. And if you just don't know, just test them. Stick a 1 in there quick and see, oh, it works. Stick a -9 in there, see, oh, it works. Okay, and now, did we figure out, did the calculator tell me to shade in the middle or on the outsides? Outsides. So then this little thing helps me to write my final answer in interval notation, which is from -infinity till you get to -9. Parentheses are always around in infinity, and the -9 works, so I put a bracket. Union with what? Bracket 1 to infinity. There you go. Why'd you stop? Did you get lost? Did you stop because you got lost, or brain fatigue? All right, that's number 1. I'd recommend that you get that sucker copied down, because that is the graph that you need, little sketch you need, and then the number line you need, and then the final answer is a little interval dealy bop. All right, remember, skip 2 and 4 and 6 and 8, just doing odds.
So this is like the final answer.
The final answer is that thing with the parentheses. Yep. All the other stuff is required. Like if you don't have a number line, you won't get credit. You have to have a sketch of the graph, you have to have your number line, and you have to have this. Now one thing, in the directions it says you also need to write down what your window settings are. That feels like a lot of work to me for not much gain on your part. So I'm going to say you don't have to tell me the number settings in your window. And the other thing it asks me for is all the equations you wrote. I'm just going to assume that you're always going to use this as your first equation and this is your second equation. And if you ever want to do something other than that, then you should tell me. Otherwise, I'll just assume this was your first equation and this was your second equation. Okay? That'll save you time also. Yes, ma'am. Calculator question. All right, I'll help you with that. I think we're done with the video for now.